This is my 1-minute update about the 2 most important things happening in the Vancouver real estate market right now. Most of my private clients want to know these 2 things. Number 1, has the value of my home gone up or down? And number 2, if I wanted to sell my home right now, how long would it take me? Well, if you purchased a home in October of 2022, your home's value has increased by 11%. This means with our $1.149 million average sale price, you're sitting on $126,400 of extra equity. Congratulations. And if you were to sell your home right now and leave Vancouver using my video marketing process, it would take you on average 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the neighborhood that you live in. Now just think about that for a second. 2 to 3 weeks to sell your home right now in this market. You wouldn't know that from the doom and gloom headlines in the media. Now, if you want to know something more specific about your home, your neighborhood, and your street, even your neighbor's home, message me down below and I'll get you all the details. Here are the Real Estate Board of Vancouver stats. The REGBV reports that residential home sales in the region saw a 45.5% decrease from those sales recorded in October of 2021, and a 12.8% increase from those sales recorded in September of 2022. So we actually had more homes sold last month than the month of September. Last month's sales were 33.3% below the 10-year October sales average. Interest rates have been the main spotlight in recent months, and they certainly have had an impact on the real estate market. It's led many buyers and sellers to assess how these factors impact their housing options. Sales remain at historic lows, and the number of active listings continues to inch upward, causing home prices to recede from those record highs of 2022. But home prices have not come down as much as people think. Recent years have been characterized by a frenetic pace of sales, amplified by scarce listings on the market to choose from. Today's market cycle is a marked departure with a slower pace of sales and more selection to choose from. This environment provides buyers and sellers more time to conduct home inspections, strata minute reviews, and other due diligence. With the possibility of yet another rate hike by the Bank of Canada this December, it has become even more important to secure financing as early in the process as possible. And my guys at Thrive Mortgage Company are the perfect people to talk to. Joining me today is Alex McFadden with Thrive Mortgage Company, and thank you so much for joining me once again. It's great to be back in this space. I love filming here at your office. A couple of things I want to dive into with you today. Well, the first is David Eby's recent announcement about eliminating all rental restrictions. Well, sorry, most rental restrictions in BC, and I'm curious to find out what your take is on that and what impact you think that will have on our real estate market.
Well, the initial thought process is that by eliminating rental restrictions and, more importantly, providing more rental properties to people, is that it will A, reduce rental prices, but B, it will provide just more opportunities. I think that what likely happens is real estate rental prices normalize less than where we are at right now, where it's going up at an extreme rate for a short period of time. The reality is we're still way massively underbuilding, and there are, well, how many Canadians coming to the country, or sorry, how many immigrants? Over 500,000 per year coming to the country, many of them to Vancouver and the localized area in the suburbs. Yeah. So the suggestion is, of course, that it will alleviate rental rates and stop people from feeling like rates are going to go up, 10% or 15% every year. I don't think it will help that long term. I think there's a short-term fix at play. More rental opportunities, perhaps less, infighting in certain situations, and I do think it brings more value to many of the properties. It also provides our clients the opportunity to keep their property if they want to buy a second, so they can hold and buy a second. So I think it's actually great if you're a homeowner right now and you want to hold your property long term.
I think we might see a faster uptick in sales activity Q1 of next year than we were normally going to expect.
No question. The reality is, in the last few days, I've had countless real estate agents call me and say, hey, I have a client who wants to now go and buy an age-restricted property. In addition to that, I've called back a number of my clients who wanted to keep their property and buy a second, who thought they'd have to sell, and they're now back interested again because this gives them the opportunity to hold their property as an investment for their future. Right. Again, it helps alleviate to a degree the rental market, but it moves sales back up. So there is going to be some interesting short-term situations here with obviously purchases.
Well, we'll see. I mean, that's my opinion. That's my take on what could happen.
Gotta have an opinion.
We'll see what happens. The next thing I want to dive into is last month you sent out an email to your clients and to some of us real estate agents that you deal with, talking about how a borrower can double their equity in 5 years by buying now.
For sure.
Can you walk us through that?
Well, I've got it right here as a graph, and you guys will see it on the screen shortly here. And so we used two different situations. We used a $1 million price point in February and an $800,000 price point in November. Now, the reality is it depends on where you're purchasing.
Of course.
As you know, location. In some situations, it could be more dramatic. As an example, Chilliwack, BC, you might have seen a greater decline. In perhaps Coquitlam, maybe less, but you get the idea. So what we've done is we use the assumption that that property is now $800,000, which is realistic, with an appreciation rate over 5 years of 5.5%. Or 5%, I should say. Since rates have gone up, we also have to factor in the fact that your payments may have slightly been altered. But the key here is your equity growth. What most people look at is the rates and say, okay, my payment's going to be higher.
Right.
The first and most important thing is that's not necessarily the case. The fact is, with rates going up, of course, it impacts your payment, but you're borrowing a massive amount less. Right? Okay? In addition to that, what the key here is on the last line, and you're looking on the screen there, which is your increase in equity. So we can see there that if we look at the increase in property value, an estimate of, in this case, $250,000 over 5 years, plus the principal pay down, that's the amount of mortgage that's actually paid off, is your total increase. You're over doubling it by buying now when compared to before. Now, there will be some arguments that will suggest that the increase of 5.5% perhaps isn't realistic. And to that point, I made a note in here to suggest that the actual average over 10 years is almost 8%, 7.8%.
So you're being quite conservative in this estimate.
Yeah. And I think the key here is if you bought in February and you're watching this, again, remember that, of course, your payments are still affordable, you still have a place to live, and you will still be up in the 5 years, perhaps even more than that. But if you buy now, you're going to be essentially more or less could be winning the lottery. Really, on top of that. And we haven't even factored in that if rates go down, you could restructure and get even better, obviously, payments in the near term.
Right. I love the value that you bring to the marketplace, not just as a real estate agent, but to all of your clients. So thank you for doing this, because it's an interesting exercise in kind of understanding what the market is right now. And, buyers' options are probably a lot better than they expected that they could be.
You can buy without lining up. You don't necessarily always have to do multiples. They're kicking around, but there's not many. The payments are nearly relatively the same for the same price point of a property. There's more upside in the sense that you could refinance your rates, and there's more upside in getting more equity. Between you and I'm actually actively looking to buy more real estate right now, and I'm telling my clients they should be the same.
Before we finish up, just tell me, what are a couple of quick trends that you're seeing in the market right now?
Sure. I've seen first-time buyers, the confidence has increased. We've seen, at least on our team and some of the agents we talked to, in the past 3 weeks, I've seen more first-time buyers get offers accepted than in the past 3 months.
Wow.
I don't know all of the reasons behind that, but I think it comes down to the market, of course, slowing down and being a little bit more enjoyable. If you think about it, your first time ever buying a home, ever, you kind of want to look at different properties. You'd like to have a financing period. You want to get your home inspection. Everyone does, but specifically a first-time buyer. And for that reason, I think it's a fantastic market for those people. They've had time to get educated, look at their options, and then make a decision. The second one is one that, it's unfortunate, but we all know the divorce rate in North America is at this point over 50%. And a sad situation. But what's even more sad is we know that there's a lot of people who are going through divorces really feel like they have no options on the financing side, so the mortgage side, either buying a home for them to move into with their kids, or anything else. And so we've been telling a lot of people lately, we actually have options and solutions for divorce situations that most of the banks don't know about or aren't educated about. Plus, I think it's nice to have a nice ear, of course, to talk about those things. So I am seeing that as a realistic trend right now. And the last one, Craig, is one that I know you know very well. In 2023 January, they're basically outlawing foreign buyers in Canada. And so I've been seeing a lot more people who are either on a work permit or perhaps just thinking about moving here who want to buy real estate right now. So those three trends I'm seeing right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As always, such a pleasure to sit down with you. Incredible value that you bring. Thank you for joining me, and take it easy.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed that video or you want to learn more about Metro Vancouver neighborhoods, I have filmed a ton of neighborhoods, and you can check them out on this playlist here. And while you're here, hit the subscribe button, because on this channel, you're going to find everything you need to live, love, and own here in Vancouver. So don't forget to subscribe.